Madhava Kunja Bihari Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Balabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Balabha Girivardhari Jasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Jasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Jamanatira Vanachadi Jamanatira Vanachadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Balabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Balabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Balabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Balabha Girivardhari Jasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Jasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Jamanatira Vanachadi Jamanatira Vanachadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayom Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivajagacharya Astatara Satasi Srimad His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Gaur Premanandi Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I think we're going to cross the finish line this morning with Canto 10, Chapter 28, Text 11. The reason is this is the beginning part of an 8 sloka sequence, and so our acharyas have been covering all 8 with commentary and so on. So we'll finish 11. Not finish. We'll complete the discussion on 11, then continue with text 12 for this morning. So text 11 reads, hearing about Krishna's pastimes with Varuna, the cowherd men considered that Krishna must be the Supreme Lord, and their minds, O king, were filled with eagerness. Nice to be filled with eagerness. For something, anyways. But here's what they were eager about. They thought, will the Supreme Lord bestow upon us his transcendental abode? And we've been hearing about all kinds of things, prakat and aprakat. So they're participating in his prakat or manifest pastimes. And they want to see the aprakat dham with the understanding that they are ordinary people, Krishna's God. So we're ordinary people, we've taken so many births, and where are we going after this? Maybe he'll take us to his abode. So that's their contemplation. So just two more references with text 11. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is going to comment on Ujjvala Nilamani. Ujjvala Nilamani is the extension of Krishnadas Kaviraj's writing. Rupa Goswami's writing, Ujjvala Nilamani. So here's the verse, Padma Purana 6, 252, 19 through 27. This is a translation from Padma Purana. Quote, Krishna played all day with the cowherd women on the charming bank of the Yamuna, covered with pure trees, wearing the dress of a cowherd. He stayed 2 months, absorbed in the rasa of prema, filled with the happiness of pleasurable pastimes. So this is, Krishna's gone back to Vrindavan. This chronology is after killing Shishupal and Dantavakra, he went into Braja for 2 months. That's the reference from Padma Purana. And then the commentary reads, the word Gopa Nadi Bhi means with women of cowherd birth, rather than the wives of the cowherds. In the 3rd canto, Shukadev speaks of Devahuti as Nripa Vadhu, the daughter of the king, rather than the wife of the king. So he's making that comparison to verify his rendering of the Sanskrit from the Padma Purana verse. The word anisham, or incessantly, indicates that he married them after wandering as an upapati. He played continuously with millions of women in knowledge of all people without restrictions. The happiness of the pastimes was pleasant, ramya. They, the pastimes, were attractive to all people. Those pastimes nourished the prema of all people of Vraja. Sanskrit is Baddha Prema. Continuing from the Padma Purana quote, all persons present in Vraja, headed by Nanda, along with their wives and sons, cows, animals, and birds, having brilliant forms by the mercy of Vasudeva, I think it means Vasudeva, mounted an airplane and went to the supreme Vaikuntha planet, Padma Purana. Listen to the commentary, it's interesting. Having given his supreme, infallible abode to all the inhabitants of Braja, and being praised by the Devatas, Krishna entered Dwaraka. Because in this passage, section, he promised them, they wanted to know, will we go there? So we showed them, and eventually he took them there. Here's Vishwanath's commentary. The meaning is this: Nanda, along with his wife Yashoda and his son Krishna, went there. This means they all went together. They had divya forms. Went there means his spirit, the Vaikuntha planet, supreme Vaikuntha planet. They went there. They went, this means that out of joy, their spiritual forms shone most brilliantly. They had divya forms. This means that out of joy, their spiritual forms shone most brilliantly. Riding on airplanes to enter Vaikuntha is mentioned only to cheat materialistic people. Actually, they entered invisibly into a special manifestation of Vrindavan. This is shown in Brihad Varaha Purana, Gopaltapani Upanishad, and Gautamiya Tantra, that this abode has an eternal manifestation. Paragraph. After Nanda returned from Varuna's abode, Krishna also showed the people of Vraja a special manifestation of his own planet, Vrindavan, but they were not taken by airplanes. This is known in the 10th canto, these 8 verses, chapter 28. Paragraph. Though Krishna showed them his abode, he took them there later. He first took them to Brahmarada. He submerged them in the lake where Akura praised Krishna, and then raised them up, and they saw the planet with Brahman in human form. Brahmaloka refers to the planet of the Lord, not that of Brahma, since it is eternal, Sanatana. It is very subtle. Tamasak param means beyond the modes. The words na veda svam gatim, they didn't know that was their abode. Krishnam cha tatra indicate the form of Gopal. They did not see other associates there, only themselves. He was praised by the Vedas, such as Gopal Tapani Upanishad, as the form of Krishna. That is the meaning of Krishnam cha tatra. They, who had attraction only for him, experienced supreme bliss. This caused them to lose awareness even of his planet. Paragraph. They are included within himself. Paragraph. My people in Braja, this is Krishna thinking to himself, my people in Braja think that they are wandering around in the material world, traveling in different species by karma caused by desire and ignorance without any goal. They do not know my form, which I desire to show them. This is because they are under the influence of my pastimes as a human being, unquote. They were not aware of his position or their position. Brahma in his prayers says, quote, this is 10:14:35. My mind becomes bewildered just trying to think of what reward other than you could be found anywhere. You are the embodiment of all benedictions, which you bestow upon these residents of the cowherd community of Vrindavan. You have already arranged to give yourself to Putana and her family members in exchange for her disguising herself as a devotee. So what is left for you to give these devotees of Vrindavan, whose homes, wealth, friends, dear relations, bodies, children, and very lives and hearts are dedicated only to you? Very elevated, huh? So now the last is a reference from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Rupa Goswami, where he's speaking about Vatsala Bhakti Rasa. Rupa Goswami. Krishna's return to Dwaraka after that was enacted through another of his forms suitable for Dwaraka. This is dated in the Padma Purana later. Quote, thus all the persons there, Nanda and the cowherd men, the children and their wives, cows, animals, and birds, taking shining forms by the mercy of Vasudeva, mounted an airplane and went to the supreme Vaikuntha planet, Krishna having bestowed his infallible abode to all the inhabitants of Braja, then entered Dwaraka, being praised by the devatas in the sky. Unquote. And though this is Rupa Goswami explaining, the description of attaining the supreme Vaikuntha on an airplane is for deceiving materialistic persons. Same as Vishwanath. Vishwanath got it from Rupa. Actually, unseen by the materialists, they all entered into a special manifestation which already existed there in Nitya Lila, merge into the forms that they brought from the manifested pastimes. In a similar manner, after marrying 16,000 queens, by the potency of Yogamaya, as seen by Narada, Krishna, on leaving all the palaces with 16,000 forms, would merge those forms into one form upon entering the Sudharma hall. Very mysterious, huh? Sukadev has also explained that Krishna made them enter that same Vrindavan previously. Following is the description of that event. And that's all these 8 verses. I'll read them again because it's like we've been hearing it again and again. Nanda Maharaj had been astonished to see for the first time the great opulence of Varuna, the ruler of the ocean planet, and also to see how Varuna and his servants had offered such humble respect to Krishna. Nanda described all this to his fellow cowherd men. The cowherd men, considering that Krishna must be the Supreme Lord, and their minds, O king, were filled with eagerness. They thought, will the Supreme Lord bestow upon us his transcendental abode? Because he sees everything, Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality Godhead, automatically understood what the cowherd men were conjecturing. Wanting to show his compassion to them by fulfilling their desires, the Lord thought as follows. So his inner contemplation is, my own dearest people, Janaha, the inhabitants of Braja, thinking that they are wandering in this world in various destinations such as devatas, animals, etc., by their own ignorance, do not know their real abode. Thus, deeply considering the situation, the all-merciful Supreme Personality Godhead Hari revealed to the cowherd men his abode, which is beyond material darkness. Lord Krishna revealed the indestructible spiritual effulgence, which is unlimited, conscious, and eternal. Sages see that spiritual existence in trance when their consciousness is free from the modes of material nature. The cowherd men were brought by Lord Krishna to Brahma Hrada, where Akrura had gone previous to the Bhagavatam narration, and were submerged in the water, and then lifted up. The cowherd men saw the abode of the Lord. Nanda Maharaj and the other cowherd men felt the greatest happiness when they saw that transcendental abode. They were especially amazed to see Krishna himself there, surrounded by the personified Vedas who are offering him prayers. And then finally, last paragraph. It should be understood that the inhabitants of Braja later factually attained Krishna's own abode, which he had shown to them as their final abode previously, as described in the above verses. The place called Brahma Rada is identified as the place where Akrura went, or Akrura Tirtha. It indicates praise for Akrura. Akrura had gone there previous to the conversation of Shukadeva and Parikshit. Krishna brought them there, submerged them in the Brahma Hrida, and then lifted them out. Lifting them out, he brought them to the area of Vrindavan. And there they saw the planet where the Supreme Brahman has a human form. Okay, now text 12. We've already heard this many times, but here's the translation. Because he sees everything, Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality Godhead, automatically understood what the cowherd men were conjecturing. Wanting to show his compassion to them by fulfilling their desires, the Lord thought as follows. There's no BBT commentary, but here's Vishwanath. Thus understanding the desires of his relatives, Svanam, Krishna, who had knowledge of all realizations, the happiness of Brahman, of Vaikuntha, of Vrajabhumi, began to think in order to fulfill their desires. Though usually he covers or withdraws his majesty according to the degree of prema, in this case, by the inspiration of the Leela Shakti, he had knowledge of all his forms simultaneously, Krishna thought. Though these cowherd men are actually understand that Brahman, Vaikuntha happiness, Jiva Goswami is short, Svanam means all the desires of the people of Vraja. He understood but did not inform them directly, since they would be embarrassed. Sanatan Goswami writes, he is eager to fulfill the desires of the people of Vraja. Out of shame, the people did not reveal their desire, but Krishna understood by himself and thought as follows, out of his mercy. Like a child overcome with affection for his father, for actually he could not think of fulfilling their desires because they had unlimited wealth by their very nature already. Paragraph. He knew everything about the people of Vraja, including their curiosity, feeling this directly because of their eagerness. Since he is filled with all powers, Bhagavan, he began to consider. Now, here's some additional commentary that goes to Canto 11, Chapter 3. And Canto 11, Chapter 3, this is, now it's some heavy philosophy. It's kind of different than all this other. It's detailing with scriptural authority references why it is that one should accept Krishna as the Supreme Person. So this is the Navyogendras speaking with King Nimi, 11, Chapter 3. Statement. Brahman cannot be understood by the mind, what to speak of works, the eye of the jiva, the life airs, or the senses, just as sparks arising from fire cannot reveal the fire. The wise say that Brahman, though expressed in the Vedas, is not subject to understanding. However, without existence of Brahman, the negative statements concerning Brahman have no meaning. Paragraph. So it's complex philosophy. Quote, the form of Bhagavan, which I worship as practice, I know. Please speak in detail about Brahman, which is difficult to understand. He now described Brahman in 4 verses. So that's like Nimi's question paraphrased. And then the sages are answering. He now described Brahman in 4 verses. Mind cannot make Brahman the object of its thought. What to speak of speech, or the eyes, the jiva, life, airs, or senses, just as sparks which arise as parts of the fire cannot reveal the fire. Then several scriptural references. Shruti says, quote, words and mind cannot approach the Lord. On the other hand, Shruti also says, quote, I ask, that was a Taittiriya Upanishad, is going to be referred to later. Words and mind cannot approach the Lord. But Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad said words. They say that Brahman, the basis of the self, cannot be expressed by words, since that is what the scripture says. Statements such as, this is Brahman, are made, but such designations cannot define Brahman. Shruti says from Katha Upanishads, 2 references, know that Brahman, which cannot be expressed by words and by which words arise. And, Katha Upanishad again, mind cannot measure it, and one cannot see it with the eye. Question. If Shruti does not describe Brahman, then why say that the scriptures designate Brahman in this verse? Without the existence of Brahman, statements of negation, like Taittiriya Upanishad sloka, cannot have meaning, since there is limitation in all negation. Means it indicates something positive. You can't speak about it with words, but it exists, so that's the positive. Speaking negative doesn't eliminate the positive. It is said in Harivamsa, O Bharata, you should understand this supreme Brahman, which pervades the whole universe, is my condensed light. And Bhagavatam, these verses that we're discussing, this Brahma Jyoti, if you remember that, it is said in the 10th canto, Brahma Jyoti Sanatanam, the light of Brahman is eternal. Continuing, he quotes Brahma Samhita. If you know the verse, we can say it together. Yasya prabha prabhavato jagadanda koti koti svashesha vasudadi vibhoti bhinnam Tad Brahma Nishkalam Anantam Ashesha Bhutam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship the Supreme Lord Govinda, whose powerful form radiates an effulgence known as the undifferentiated, unlimited, all-encompassing Brahman, which is completely distinct from its powers displayed in unlimited planets throughout the billions of universes. Next, if Brahman is the effulgence of Bhagavan's body, then why can it not become the object of the mind or senses? Answer, this light does not arise from matter. It arises from the form of eternity, knowledge, and bliss, which is beyond matter. Words and mind are material. How can that light be the object of material words and mind? The spiritual body is described as follows. Shabdam Brahma Vapur Dadhat Bhagavatam. The Lord has a form of Brahman. This is 3:21. And 10:14, this is Brahma's prayers. Krishna is a friend, full of supreme bliss, the complete Brahman. Then he quotes another verse indicating, verifying the same. Canto 10, chapter 70. O Lord, even outcasts are purified by hearing and chanting your glories and meditating upon you, the absolute truth. What to speak of those who see and touch you? So there's a distinction between Bhagavan and Brahman. Brahman is beyond the senses, and Bhagavan can be appreciated by spiritual senses. So, last paragraph. Though the body of the Lord is spiritual, by the Lord's Kripa Shakti, which is inconceivable, this form becomes visible in the material world. That form is described by words such as, quote, blue like the petals of a blue lotus, unquote. The Lord's body is the color of a spiritual lotus petal, but is described by material description of material lotuses. However, that form upon which the devotee meditates using that material description becomes visible to the devotee by the inconceivable mercy of the Lord. This is not revealed by the material person's mind in words. When the sadhana of the worshipper of Brahman becomes perfect by attaining mercy of the Lord becomes realized as Brahman in his mind. Thus the Vedas say, quote, from Katha Upanishad, the same two verses, Brahman cannot be understood by the mind, and Brahman is seen by concentrated intelligence. That's a little journey over there to 11th canto. So one last, this is Jiva Goswami speaking in Gopal Champu. These are my own people. Now they are thinking of me as the Supreme Lord and desire to experience my greatness, which cannot be fully experienced, but they cannot experience this because they become astonished only by the powers of Varuna. They cannot realize my real greatness, since it is similar to what they have already known. They have lost their discrimination, and thus consider their and my appearance in this world to be a mundane appearance, which gives destinations for the jivas through their ignorance, lust, and karma. Quotes Canto 10, chapter 16. They have offered Krishna everything, their very selves, their families, their wealth, wives, and all pleasures. And another from chapter 65, Canto 10. Those cowherds have dedicated everything to lotus-eyed Krishna. That's the chapter where he's reunited with Vasudeva and Devaki, I think. Those cowherds have dedicated everything to lotus-eyed Krishna. No, that's 45. I don't know what 65 is. So mystery continuing. What's it going to be like if we go to the spiritual world and Krishna does these amazing things, and how are we going to view them? Well, that's total speculation, but we are getting this information from the Bhagavatam, compliments of Shukadev Goswami and Srila Vyasadeva, to understand the mood and the love and the exchanges of love with Krishna. It's pure love. There's nothing that they have in their existence other than attachment to Krishna. They think of themselves in humility as worldly people, somehow blessed by whatever. The mountain of pious activities of Nanda Maharaj and whatever, and they somehow have been granted good fortune. That Krishna's in their community and they love, all they know is they love Krishna, so that's their life. And reciprocating with their love for him, Krishna has similar feeling for them. So it keeps moving back and forth between his divinity and his own innocence. Remember that, I think I'm going to write something about this, because it's this, he's Atmarama but not Atmarama. Remember that commentary? It's not in anything with the BBT publication. I have to go back and look and see where that was. But he's Atmarama, Krishna is Atmarama, in that he doesn't need anything. He's full in himself. If a living entity can be Atmarama, then why not Krishna? Everything is within him. There's no need. And then there is need. What's that need? It's his, with the fullness of his independence and not needing anything, he's captured by the love of his devotees. So he does things like this, without any purpose, but with purpose. The purpose is reciprocating the love of his devotees. And then, those are the residents of the spiritual world. And then there's us, trying to be devotees. And the trying to be devotees have our, what's the right word? Our expectations. Krishna should be like this. Happiness should look like that. And so forth. Fruitive modes of nature, picture of the dispenser of our, or the fulfiller of our wish lists. And that's not entirely, but that's a significant part of the mood of us, souls that aren't in that pure stage yet. And so we have issues with the world, which means we have issues with Krishna. We have envy towards others because we have envy towards Krishna. there's, like Prabhupada's explanation, there's disputes between man and one nation and another nation. And it's that the root of it is our dispute with Krishna. So what's it like when you don't have a dispute with Krishna? The picture of the Brijbasis is like that. And not only pure consciousness, but totally attached. And so it's not that there's no desire. This isn't Buddhism. They have a desire, and Krishna fulfills their desire. He knows, and he fulfills. There's many passages in the scripture where Krishna or other forms of the Lord are inviting his devotee, whatever you wish. You wish, and it will be fulfilled. And a number of those say, please always keep me engaged in your service. Please give me the association of devotees so I can hear and chant and remember you. Please keep my disposition towards all living entities in a friendly mood, well-wishing, friendly mood. Even, means even when there's aggressors and ill-wishing people, let me remain good, well-wishing. Here they have a wish. They want to see the place. They want to see his place. So he fulfills their desire. So what's our desire? We got a lot of desires. And to align those so many desires with the purpose behind those desires of Krishna is to be pleased. That's our challenge. And if we don't achieve that, the mind will forever remain restless and disturbed. Forever. There's no end to it. There's this popular story. I'm not even sure if Prabhupada gave the story, but maybe the Prabhupada gave the story. One student goes to his guru and says, "Why is it so difficult to take full shelter of the personality of Godhead?" And his guru says, "That's a very profound question. Let me contemplate so I can give you the proper answer. You come back tomorrow at this time." So the student is thinking, wow, he's got to get the answer to this important question. So he's anticipating. And as he's coming back, he's heading into the forest where his guru's ashram is, and he hears his voice calling out, "Help! Help!" He starts running. "Oh no! What's the problem?" And when he gets to his guru's ashram, he sees his guru with his arms and legs and body wrapped around a tree calling out, "Help!" So he tries to help him. "What happened, Guruji?" And pulls his arms and legs, and then Guruji stands up and says, "Now do you understand?" Huh? Said, it's difficult to take full shelter of the personality of Godhead because you're clinging so tightly to your material attachments. You can't take full shelter as long as you're clinging to material attachments. You can't let go. So you can't take full shelter of the personality of Godhead. That these verses that are praising the Brajvasis, they didn't take sannyas. They're householders with occupations and homes and children and cows and this and that. But it's all dedicated to the personality of Godhead. Everything. And if Krishna, he's in their hearts, he knows their hearts, so he has this divinity position, but he also has this loving position. In the evening, I don't know if you noted it from the evening discussion, but there was just one comment that said, Krishna wanted Mother Jasoda to scold him, but she didn't. So the next Leela is what we're going to hear next, and that is, he does something so she scolds him. And then when she scolds him, she's overwhelmed. He shows the universe within his mouth. And, in the course of her scolding him, he's like the binding of Krishna with rope. He's trembling, although he's defiant. They're lying. But she grabs him by the arm because he may run away. So she doesn't hit him, but she's taking the assertive mother role. If you haven't eaten dirt, show me. Now the dirt's not going to be in his mouth because if he ate dirt, he swallowed it, it's in his stomach. So what it says specifically is she saw it within his belly. How did she look into his mouth and see within his belly? Well, he showed what's in just like the Mahavishnu, everything is within him, or Garbhodakshay Vishnu, everything is within him, or even Kshirodakshay Vishnu, he's within everything, but everything is within him. All this, double talk. I'm within everything, but outside of everything. Everything is within me. So he showed her his position. So with her eyes, she could see. Because he wanted to give that experience to her. So what are we going to see? We'll see whatever Krishna wants us to see. That's what we're going to see. So what should we want? Not to see this or that something. He showed them. He showed them, back to this, he showed them Goloka, the uppercut place. And there they are. Specifically, they didn't see anyone else. Although there are other persons in Goloka, but they didn't see anyone else. They saw themselves and they saw Krishna and the personified Vedas. They may have seen other things. Doesn't say what those other things are, birds and river Jamuna and whatever else. So his Leela Shakti was expanded, and then his Yogamaya potency covered them again. Back to the village, back to taking care of cows and fish. Like, why would these highly learned scholars be interested in fairy tales? They're not. Why would Shukadev Goswami, who's Brahman realized and beyond interested in anything temporary, be interested in all of this? It's not material. And the effect of hearing it is not a material effect. And somehow we just happen to be in the right place at the right time and say yes when this knowledge was given to us, and then give other people the same opportunity to hear this knowledge. And, depending upon their free will choices, they'll do whatever they're going to do. Lots of mercy. Okay, so it's 8:22. Let's see if there's some discussion? You have something. Do we have the microphone?
Maharaj, can you elaborate on, we have issues with others because
It is a reflection of the spiritual. The material is a reflection. So let's say it conversely. If we can clear our relationship with Krishna, we won't have conflicts. That people will continue to behave the way people behave. And the mind, the intelligence is still operating, but you don't have the feelings of conflict. And so you behave in bad times, or good behavior, bad behavior. Let's take, Srila Prabhupada, how he conducted his life when people, let's just, like one example, it comes out in the Hare Krishna movie, when there was this charge of brainwashing. Prabhupada was fire. And, like Hari Sori says, he was a fighter. And he was like ready for battle, tightening his belt. And his position was service of Krishna. So there's adversarial people, and then his response. But it wasn't always one thing. He did so many. So it's not we become passive or bland or not non-emotional. But whatever the emotion is, if it's in service to Krishna, it's appropriate for the service to Krishna in our position of service. And each of us are different. So, back to your question. Behind our challenges with people or conflicting situations with people, behind that is Krishna. So there's the non-devotee, then it's karma, and then there's the devotee, and it's Krishna's helping us get closer to him. And when we see that, we don't have to like the misconduct or nasty speech of someone, but we know how to respond. We're more likely to know how to respond when the mind is pure. It's just a manifestation of the modes of nature, prakriti, doing its thing. Now, how to be in service to Krishna. So it's just an opportunity for service rather than survival instincts or something. It's struggling with the mind and the emotions in the mind, and it's endless.
How do we recognize?
No, wait. He's got right here. Just sit down.
Oh, sorry. I thought he's giving me.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Maharaj, following up on her question, when we are in a teaching position, and there are some people who say that I will do what Krishna tells me, but they have a dispute with other people or other sects or something. But they, in their behavior and externally, they show that yes, they like always doing Krishna Katha and attracted to Krishna. And they say also, so how do we explain that?
So what's your question? How do you respond to that kind of a situation? Well, Guru Sadhu Shastra. And have you done that? Have you Guru Sadhu Shastra? Not just, I've got a verse over there, and that supports, I've got the right understanding of what Krishna wants. How are you going to discern what Krishna wants? If you're making a big mistake if you think your sole discretion is the way to determine what Krishna wants. That's not what Krishna wants. No, that's not necessarily going to change the person's mood or disposition or position, but it's just, here's a mirror. What do you see? So training conditioned souls is a difficult task. And part of a teacher's role is to train students, just like part of a parent's role is to train dependents. So it's not easy. It doesn't work just by, being heavy. It requires transformation of consciousness. And there are different approaches depending upon the person and the situation and so on. Not an easy task. Citing the scriptures, that's fun. And then having people that have some modes of nature issue or karma issue, entanglement in the material energy issue, then it's not easy. Can you come take the microphone?
Yes. Hare Krishna Maharaj. My question was very basic. Many times might have answered, but how to recognize our attachments?
How to recognize your attachment. Put your hand in your bead bag. And where does the mind go?
So it goes to many places.
But that's how you can find out where your attachments are. Where the mind goes. That's where. At the time of death, where does the mind go? To that which you're attached to. When you put your hand in your bead bag, it's not time of death, but where does your mind go? Of course, it's different at different times, so there's a whole array of attachments. Okay? Something else? Yeah.
Maharaj, if I am assigned a service and if my mood is to serve Dhru and Krishna and you want to do that service, but I have no skills or qualification to do that service, so will Krishna give me intelligence to do that service?
It depends.
And what are the practical steps which I should take so that I can attract the mercy of Krishna, so that I get the intelligence to do my service to please Dhru and Krishna?
Well, it depends if it's an emergency or not. In emergency situations, you kind of like cross your fingers and hope for the best. Know that there's going to be some mistake. And, there's examples of Prabhupada explicitly teaching like that. Not exactly emergency, but yes, Krishna will instruct you. You try to do something nicely for Krishna, Krishna will give you the intelligence. But so what's the steps? Get focused on what does Krishna want. And the same by Guru Sadhu Shastra, we know what Krishna wants. So if you have some service to do, then here's another, if it's not an emergency, I need to prepare myself. I need to get some skill set. And I may start with just like preliminary, but as I go along, I want to get some skills. Kind of like what's going on, for example, there's many for examples. Teaching or management, so Brahminical function or a Kshatriya function. Sometimes we're asked to teach when we don't really know what we're doing. So like, you may be asked to give a class, so you give a class. You say, well, I'm not qualified, I have to become a pure devotee first, and then I can give a class. But, so with our limits, we speak. But then when you speak, you understand, gosh, I really need to put more energy into qualifying myself so I can speak properly. And, so we study more, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. just a little example. There's a devotee in China that has the service of building a scriptural training and education program for the whole of China, whole of ISKCON China. Woo, big service. And so there's all kinds of steps that were involved, but the first step was they went and lived in Vrindavan for 2 years to study Bhakti Shastri, and they don't speak English, but they learned. And then came back and understood they had to make it with Chinese characteristics, because that was what the educators in Vrindavan said. This is for people in general, but when you go back to Russia or this place or that place, you have to customize it for your local people. So I had to, with Chinese characteristics. Anyway, and then the people that, and on and on and on. So now it got to be, there's like a full swing, 100 and something teachers in the teacher training pipeline to get teacher training course Bar 1 and 2 in Chinese with Chinese characteristics and Bhakti Shastri, da. Next comes Bhakti Vaibhav. So what's the step? Well, they don't know the first 6 cantos. They have to study the first 6 cantos before they can start to teach it and develop curriculum with Chinese characteristics. So depends on the task. Rather than just go wing it and just start teaching Bhakti Vaibhav, they should prepare themselves. Depends. What are the steps? Depends on the service and the circumstances. Is it an emergency? Prabhupada did things that were emergency, and there were mistakes.
So, Maharaj, in your example,
Could you hold the microphone closer? Thanks.
sure, Maharaj. So, in your example, Guru Maharaj, that Chinese devotee has to go through Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Vaibhav, right? So, did they consulted a guru or devotees to understand what they have to take the steps to do that?
This is too detailed. You speak to him about how to get qualified for Bhakti Shastri. This is detailed. I want to speak with principles. There are systems for learning Bhakti Shastri. There's many, and there's not like a cookie cutter one only. There's many. But first, I don't want to go there. First starts a desire. And then you find out, is this Guru Sadhu Shastra, is this something that Prabhupada wanted? Yes. Okay. I have a desire, something Prabhupada wanted. Now, what are some of the options? And how well developed are those options? And then you select from the menu. And you start. And you may find, well, that doesn't suit me so well. So then you look at the menu again. What are some of the other options? Find one that suits you, and then you stay with it. Okay? Let's go with the online questions.
Question from Jyotirmay Mataji. You have told many times that if we are envious of others means we are envious of Krishna. Can you please elaborate?
It's the same question that she asked. Keep going.
Gaurasundar Prabhu. The tendency of being curious is a Mishra Bhakta's heart.
No.
The tendency of being curious in a Mishra Bhakta's heart can pull him down on his way back to Godhead. When a Mishra Bhakta is on his way back to Godhead, traveling through upper planets of this universe, then through the coverings of this universe, into Brahmajyoti, Vaikuntha planets, all the way to Goloka, at any point, can he get attracted to opulences, thereby stopping him to achieve Goloka?
Yes. Next.
How to check This from same Gaurasundar Prabhu. How to check this tendency of curiousness in one's heart?
How to check it?
Check it.
Just align it with, is it pleasing to Krishna? That's how you check it. Is it, if not, then you pause. Say, wait a minute, I want to realign this curiosity with that which is going to please Krishna, help me get to the place where pleasing Krishna is my life. That's how you check it.
What does it mean for Vedas?
The sound went out. What happened? Battery? It's red instead of green?
No, it's green now. I think it automatically.
Oh, okay. Okay, go ahead. Keep going. Prakash.
Yeah. What does it mean for Vedas to be personified? Or for eternal time to be personified?
It just means that there's an energy, and the energy is resting on a person. That's what it means. So the person, personified, it means that that's the person from which the energy, you can do it. You know how to change batteries. You don't know how to do it. Give it to him. He does. I thought you're a teenager. You're supposed to know how to do these things. For the online people, we're changing batteries. Back in action. Okay.
And then continuation of that question. What does it mean for the holy name to be Nama Prabhu? Holy names of Krishna is non-different from Krishna. So Nama Prabhu is Krishna?
Yes.
Okay. Question from Sanchari. What is the reason we use a lotus to describe Krishna's form? Clarification point. The spiritual lotus is different from the one we can see.
We discussed this. So just go back and listen to the. It was kind of an extended discussion. Please listen.
Yes.
Okay.
I have one question.
Okay.
That's all. The online.
Okay.
The Prabhupada's story about clinging on to the tree.
Yeah, I'm not sure it was Prabhupada's story, but go ahead, Prabhupada's story.
Or that story that you
Yeah, the
mentioned.
conventional story.
Yes. So I have a question. In the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the verse Vishaya Vinivartante, where it says Param Drishtva Nivartati, when one attains a higher taste, the lower taste already goes. So what I am seeing is a deadlock situation.
What?
A deadlock situation. I'll explain.
Okay.
So when there is an attachment.
Yeah.
For which the scriptures say I should get a higher taste. So
but you can't because you're deadlocked.
I cannot get the higher taste because of attachment is stopping.
It's
so it
gradual.
Is like,
that the answer is it's gradual. And operative principles are endeavor and mercy. That breaks the deadlock.
okay.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.